Welcome to the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, a podcast for high-achieving women who are great at making money but struggle to build wealth. You'll learn how to take control of your money, increase your net worth, and make more. Ladies, it's time to create a life with more money and more freedom. Let's dive in. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy Woman's Podcast. I am super excited today because it is sunny and it is beautiful outside. So I am really happy to discuss this topic with you all today. The fact that strict budgets don't work. I know this is so different than what we've heard from all of the other personal finance gurus out there that, hey, you just need to put yourself on a strict budget and not go out to dinner and not buy things and not buy lattes and just be very restrictive with yourself, and then you will be able to build wealth. But I want to let you know that that way of handling your money and trying to get your money under control, it simply does not work, especially for women like us, high achieving women who are amazing at making money. We make really good money and we work really, really hard to make that money. There's no way we're going to put ourselves on a super restrictive budget where we can't enjoy our lives, right? And that is why I created the concept of do both, build wealth and enjoy life at the same time, because I want you to know that you do not have to put yourself on a super strict budget in order to take control of your money, in order to start meeting your financial goals. There is another way to do it. And I truly believe that most women who really have that nudge to build wealth, but they're not doing it, the reason is because they cannot reconcile putting themselves on a really strict budget where they can't enjoy things, they can't buy things that they worked hard for with, just saving and paying off debt and investing and then waiting maybe until retirement to be able to enjoy their lives. Like they just can't reconcile those two things. So they simply do nothing, right? They do nothing. And that is keeping them stuck. So I really want you to understand that strict budgets don't work. And I'm going to tell you why they don't work. I'm also going to tell you why people try to put themselves on a strict budget. I'm also going to talk about the alternative, what you can do to actually create a plan for your money that will allow you to not only meet your financial goals, but to also live out the lifestyle values that you have. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, let's talk about why people use strict budgets in the first place. I get this question all the time, or it's more like a comment all the time from people who are interested in working with me, who are interested in joining the Wealthy Woman's Academy. They'll say, Jermaine, I just can't see myself budgeting. Or they'll say, I've tried budgeting in the past, but it just doesn't work for me. Or sometimes I hear them say, hey, I do budget, but I don't even look at it. I don't follow it. Like I budget, then I put it in a drawer, and then I just live my life and I don't even think about the budget. And so I want you to know that I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I used to do those exact same things and think those exact same thoughts. But the reason why you may be experiencing those things is because you're putting yourself on a strict budget. And most people do this as a way to punish themselves for bad behavior in the past. So let's say it's April, right? And in March, you look back over your spending and you just notice that you just really kind of overspent. You bought way more things than you wanted to buy. You didn't save. You didn't invest like you wanted to. And maybe you didn't pay off any debt, but you maybe ran up your debt. Maybe you dipped into your savings to shop or whatever. And then you're like, okay, it's April. March, I went way overboard. And I need to put myself on a strict budget for April because I have to make up for all that damage I caused. And you may even be thinking like, okay, I need to whip myself back up in shape so that I can get myself under control. And so that is the reason why most people put themselves on those really strict budgets, is because they're trying to make up for all the overspending they did the previous month. Sometimes people go on a vacation and they'll just really ball out on the vacation. And they are like, okay, I'm coming home. I'm going to put myself on a strict budget. I'm not buying anything this month. I did way too much last month. And they think that is the way that they're going to kind of like fix what happened in the past. This actually does make sense, but it doesn't work. And I always like to draw the analogy between putting yourself on a strict budget and also putting yourself on a strict diet. We all know what happens when you go on a really strict diet. You might lose some weight in the short term, but we all know that long term, those really strict diets do not work. And you end up not only gaining the weight back that you may have lost, but sometimes you even gain more. And that's the exact same thing that happens when you put yourself on a strict budget, right? So now let's talk about the problem with a strict budget. The fact is they backfire. Using the food analogy, let's say you overspend in March. So April, you're like, listen, I'm going to put myself on a strict budget. Maybe you do really well. You white knuckle it, you use lots of willpower, and you just shut your eyes and grind your teeth and just make it happen. And maybe you do it again for May. And then all of a sudden that willpower that you've been using to not spend and not really think about money, and maybe you've saved some money in your emergency fund and maybe you've paid off your credit card debt, but eventually that willpower, it will run out because we as human beings, we do not have an unlimited supply of willpower. We only have so much. And so once that willpower runs out, then guess what? You revert back. So all the money you saved, you dip into it and you spend it again. All the money you paid down on your credit card, maybe you've paid your credit card bill off or down very, very low. What happens? You go run it up again because that willpower runs out because you were relying on white knuckling it on a very strict budget for a couple months. And then once that willpower ran out, you just said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And you just go out and you just release all that steam. So what's happening there is that your current self, right? When you put yourself on a strict budget, your current self is punishing your future self for what your past self did. I'm going to say that again. So your current self, the person you are right now, and you're putting yourself on this really strict budget, you are punishing the future you that's actually going to have to follow through on that strict budget. You're punishing her in the future for what you did in the past. So what your past self did. So the problem with strict budgets is that when it's time to follow through with them, it's so very hard to do. And like I said, you may do it for a while, but then that willpower is going to run out. And then what is going to happen is, okay, that willpower is going to run out. You're going to go out and overspend. You might use up your savings. You might go back into debt. And then you're going to feel horrible about yourself. You're going to feel like, see, this doesn't work. This is not for me. I'm just bad with money. And then the cycle will repeat itself again. Because when we feel bad about ourselves because we think we're not good with money, we think we can't do something, we feel bad. And our primitive brains do not like to feel bad. And so in order for your primitive brain to do its job to make you feel good, it'll say, hey, let's just go buy this thing. That'll make you feel better. And then you repeat the cycle, right? And so this is why strict budgets don't work. And that is the problem with them. They backfire. You might do well for a month or two, and then that willpower is just going to go away, and then the cycle will continue. The truth is, you were not being kind to your future self when you created that strict budget. Okay? And so what you were doing was you were setting your future self up for failure. And when your future self actually fails because you put her on a strict budget, then you just want to beat yourself up about that. Now let's talk about what to do instead. So number one, let strict budgets go. Just let them go. They do not work. And then I want you to forgive yourself for past money mistakes. So let's say you did overspend during the month of March and you did go into debt and you did dip into your savings, or you went on vacation and you spent way more than you wanted to. Listen, that happened. It was in the past. Let's just forgive yourself for that and decide that you're going to live a different life, right? Forgive yourself for that and just make a decision that you're going to do something different next time. And the different thing you're going to do is to create a non-restrictive, intentional spending plan ahead of time. This, my friends, is the secret sauce to creating any financial result you want. Goals are really important, but a goal without a plan is simply a wish, and your non-restrictive, intentional spending plan is the plan that will help you to reach your financial goals. And inside the Wealthy Woman's Academy, I have a process that I take my clients through to create these every single month. You need a spending plan that is non-restrictive, that includes things that are important to you, lifestyle things and financial goals that are important to you, that you are committed to creating every single month. You have to give your money direction. You have to give your money a purpose, or it will literally disappear. This, my friends, like I said, is the secret sauce to creating any financial result you want. So much so that I am going to dedicate next week's episode entirely to this: how to create a non-restrictive, intentional spending plan ahead of time, because this is how I paid off over $200,000 worth of debt and how I created a multiple six-figure net worth. I know there may be people out there saying that you don't need to budget, but this is how I did it. I did not put myself on a strict budget. I just had a spending plan that I was committed to following, and I made sure that it included things that were important to me. So vacations, education, personal development, those are all things that are important to me. My appearance is important to me. So sometimes I had shopping in my spending plan, right? I made sure that the things that mattered to me and my family were included. And even though that meant that it probably took me a little longer to pay off the debt, it probably took me a little longer to build up my emergency fund. It probably took me a little longer to grow my net worth to where it is today, but that's okay, because the truth is there's no rush to get there, right? There's no rush to do any of this. And so I decided that I'd rather go slower and actually create an entire lifestyle change versus putting myself on a strict budget and trying to use willpower and then fizzling out when it didn't work. I just knew that there had to be a better way. And this is how you do both. You just decide that you're not going to be in a rush, and you make sure that you have a spending plan that aligns with your goals and your values. And again, we're going to talk about this next week, which will be episode number 10. So that is what I have for you all today. So let's do a quick recap. So today we talked about why people put themselves on strict budgets. We talked about the problem with strict budgets, and we talked about what to do instead, right? Remember, people put themselves on a strict budget because they are trying to punish themselves for overspending in the past. The problem with strict budgets is that they just don't work. They backfire on us many times. And then what to do instead? So instead of putting yourself on a really strict budget, we're going to create non-restrictive, intentional spending plans ahead of time. And episode number 10 is going to go deeper into that concept. And I will talk to you all then. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, if you're ready to create a life with more money and more freedom, then you're invited to join the Wealthy Woman's Academy, my signature coaching program where you'll learn how to take control of your money and build wealth without sacrificing your lifestyle. To get started, head on over to JermaineFoley.com. That's Jermaine with a G, Foley.com. See you there.